It began with a series of strange text messages. Short, cryptic, unsettling. A young woman told her friends she felt like someone was following her. Hours later, she was gone. The last signal from her phone came from a house on the edge of town. A house with a reputation. A house neighbors whispered about. Where people entered, but almost no one ever came back out. Tonight, we dive into one of the most disturbing disappearances in recent memory. A case full of eerie coincidences, bizarre evidence, and a terrifying question. What really happened inside that house? The victim was Melissa Turner, a 24-year-old college student from Dayton, Ohio. Melissa wasn't the kind of person who typically made headlines. She was quiet, thoughtful, and deeply loyal to the people she loved. Melissa was studying graphic design, but her true passion was writing. She kept notebooks filled with short stories, often dark, often tinged with mystery. Her friends said she had an old soul, someone who noticed details most people overlooked. Family was everything to her. She lived in an apartment not far from her parents and younger brother. Every Sunday night she had dinner with her mom. Every Wednesday she FaceTimed her best friend, even if she was exhausted from classes. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't a risk taker. Melissa lived carefully, which made what happened all the more chilling. Because on the night she vanished, Melissa had already been warning people something was wrong. It was April 14th, 2019, a Saturday. Melissa spent the morning working on a design project at a local coffee shop. Security footage showed her smiling, chatting with the barista, and then heading home around 2 p.m. That evening, things took a turn. At 8:12 p.m., Melissa texted her best friend, "Someone keeps messaging me. I don't know who it is." At 8:25 p.m., another text, "They know where I am." Her friend immediately called, but Melissa didn't pick up. At 9:07 p.m., Melissa texted again, "If anything happens to me, check the house on Ridgeway." That was the last message anyone ever received from her. Melissa was supposed to stop by her mom's house that night. She never showed. By midnight, her phone was going straight to voicemail. By morning, her car was found abandoned near Ridgeway Avenue, just 3 houses down from a property locals had whispered about for years. The house on Ridgeway Avenue had a reputation. It was a 2-story rental, run down with boarded windows and a history of police calls. Everything from drug activity to domestic disturbances. Neighbors said strange people came and went at all hours. Some even claimed screams had been heard from inside. When Melissa's car was found nearby, police canvassed the street. At first, they knocked politely. When no one answered, they pushed harder. Inside the Ridgeway house, the smell was overwhelming. Trash piled high, empty bottles, mattresses on the floor, but no Melissa. Still, there were clues. Her phone case was found near the back door. A strand of hair matching her color was tangled in a blanket on the floor. And, perhaps most unsettling, scribbled messages on the wall. She shouldn't have come here. From the beginning, investigators focused on the Ridgeway house. But who exactly lived there? The property was rented by a man named Eric Mills, a 38-year-old with a long criminal history. Assault, burglary, drug charges. Eric wasn't living alone. Over the years, different people had drifted in and out of the house, some staying weeks, some only days. It was a revolving door of troubled souls. Eric denied any involvement in Melissa's disappearance. He admitted he had seen her once or twice, claimed she came over with a friend, but insisted she left the house alive. Police weren't convinced. Phone records showed Melissa's last location pinged from inside the Ridgeway house. Witnesses reported seeing her car parked outside earlier that night. And then there were the messages. Those strange, foreboding texts that seemed to point directly to this place. But despite days of searching, cadaver dogs, and multiple warrants, police came up empty. No body, no blood, no definitive evidence. Melissa had vanished into thin air. For months, investigators chased leads. Some believed Melissa had been targeted by someone she knew. Others suspected she had been lured into the Ridgeway house under false pretenses. A few even suggested she had staged her own disappearance, though her family vehemently rejected that theory. One suspect after another was brought in. Friends of Eric Mills, former tenants, known criminals from the area, all denied knowing anything about Melissa. Tips poured in. Melissa had been spotted at a gas station. Melissa had been seen boarding a bus. Melissa was alive, hiding out somewhere. Each lead collapsed under scrutiny. By the end of 2019, the case had gone cold. For Melissa's family, it was unbearable. Every holiday, every birthday passed with an empty chair at the table. Her mother kept Melissa's room exactly as it was, notebooks stacked on the desk, posters still taped to the walls. But the most haunting part? Those final texts. Someone had been threatening Melissa. Someone knew she wouldn't make it out alive. And still, police had no answers. The breakthrough came nearly 3 years later. In 2022, a man serving time in prison for unrelated charges requested to speak with investigators. His name was Daniel Briggs, a former associate of Eric Mills. Daniel claimed that on the night of April 14th, he was inside the Ridgeway house. He said Melissa had been lured there by Eric under the pretense of buying something, possibly a laptop for school. But once inside, things spiraled. According to Daniel, Eric became paranoid, convinced Melissa was working with police. He allegedly held her against her will, demanding to know who she was really talking to. Daniel admitted he left before the night ended, but he claimed he heard a struggle, a scream, and then silence. Eric Mills was brought back in for questioning. By then, his life had unraveled further. More arrests, more violence. But when pressed about Melissa, he maintained his innocence. Detectives confronted him with Daniel's statement. He smirked, shook his head, and said, "Everyone loves to tell stories, doesn't make them true." Yet the evidence was mounting. Forensic teams re-examined items from the Ridgeway house. On one of the blankets, new DNA technology revealed a partial match to Melissa. It wasn't definitive, but it was enough. Prosecutors charged Eric Mills with kidnapping and murder, even without a body. The trial was one of the most heartbreaking the town had ever seen. Melissa's mother sat in the courtroom every day, clutching her daughter's notebooks. Friends testified about the strange messages. Police described the eerie evidence inside the Ridgeway house. The defense argued there was no body, no cause of death, no certainty. But the jury saw through it. Eric Mills was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. For Melissa's family, the verdict brought some relief, but also an endless ache. Melissa's body has never been found. To this day, her mother still places flowers outside the Ridgeway house, whispering her daughter's name into the wind. Melissa Turner's story is more than a disappearance. It's a haunting reminder of the dangers that sometimes lurk where we least expect them. She sent messages. She left warnings. She told us exactly where to look. And still, by the time anyone arrived, it was too late. So the question remains, if a house has a history of swallowing people whole, why do we keep waiting until it claims another life before we finally listen?